Sarah and Matthew, how are you?
Well, how are you?
Good, good, good. Congratulations on Unidentified Objects arriving June 2 in select theaters and on June 9 on VOD. As a fan of road trip movies myself, this was one of the best ones I've seen out there in recent years. Um, this film has gone through several festival circuits, Outfest, Fantastic Fest, BFI. So, what do you think about all the responses, and how does it feel that now your film is finally going out to general public this weekend?
It's if you asked me in August 2020 when we were in the middle of nowhere, Maine, shooting this tiny film that 3 years down the line it would still be a core part of my life. I don't know how I would have reacted. It would be from surprise for sure. But pleasant surprise indeed. It is the last year was without question one of the most fulfilling of my life, not just professionally but personally. Um, I was very ignorant to the whole film festival circuit world before this, as this was my first feature, and to hop around from city to city and country to country in some ways and meet people who are just passionate, like super fans of storytelling. Like some of the nicest people I have ever met. I crossed paths with this past year. Um, and the responses have been just amazing. Like truly, it's like it's you kind of have to pinch yourself at the people who come up to you and they have tears in their eyes and they're just like, I just went on an emotional roller coaster watching this film, and it's a really a dream come true. That's what it is. It's a dream come true.
Well, Sarah, let me ask you this then. You were fresh off of your Golden Globe nomination from Flesh and Bone, and among other projects that you did after that. Um, when considering your next move at the time, what was it about Unidentified Object script that ultimately made you say, "I want to do this"? And my second part of the question is, do you see similarities between Winona and Claire Robbins? Do you think they share some things in common?
The first half of the question, sorry about the dog barking, I'm outside. I definitely was looking for something that was a little bit away from the typical characters that I get offered. Things that are uh just mostly dark or kind of the crying character. So I'm looking for things that are outside of what I normally would audition for. And so when this came to me, I was completely shocked that they thought of me for it, because something like comedy would not usually come my direction. I've only done like one or two pieces of comedy before. And so I just jumped in. It's like, let's try something different, and I prefer it to drama, like straight drama. Um, and then as far as Claire Robbins, I wouldn't say she has really anything except well, I'm trying to think between the two of them. I think Claire's just a little more lost than Winona, which is hard to believe.
Thank you for sharing that. And Matthew, I spoke with the director Juan last week. He told me that he and his co-writer Leland collaborated with you in molding and shaping your character Peter, because obviously, of course, Juan and Leland don't have that little people lived experience. Talk to me about that collaboration. What was that conversation like that all three of you guys had in your process of shaping Peter?
Isn't Juan Fan Leland, like, aren't they incredible? They're just amazing artists. I so a credit to Leland, a credit to Leland. Very little of this film was improvised. Like almost all of what you hear or see on screen is written on the page. And that's a credit to Leland's like ability for empathy, of reaching across the aisle and sharing the lived experience of someone that he is not. That's like real talent. The only thing that I did was allow them to go further in, for example, just a concrete example of the word midget. The word midget was not in the original script because they were cognizant that that's a derogatory word, and I think they were fearful of misplacing that in a way that would come across as crass or insensitive or what have you in this hypersensitive climate that we live in. And so I just told them to toe that line and then put your big toe across the line and see what happens, because that's what I like seeing on screen. And that's what I gave Leland and Wanfei, is the permission to go further. That's just, the meat was already on the table, and I just let them kind of pound it a little further, a little harder. And that's kind of where you see some of the more emotionally wrought scenes, the Peter getting, pushed over by the bullies, and the stranger at the bar. Some of that text was I encouraged Leland and Wanfei to push further, but really a credit to them in terms of bringing a very authentic story to life.
To follow up on that real quick, Matthew, your character Peter was reading Chekhov the entire time in this film. What book or books are you, Matthew, currently reading at the moment? What's on your book list right now?
So there are 3 that I'm currently reading, and I'm not sure what it says about me, but the first is a book called The Body Keeps the Score, which is a deconstruction of trauma and how trauma affects the body. The other one is called what's it called? Urban Tantra, which is a sexual liberation book about breathing, how breathing and meditation can kind of bolster and uplift the sexual experience with you and your partner. And then the third is Carl Jung's memoir, Dreams, Memories, and Reflections. So I guess I go deep. I tend to go deep, but that's what I'm reading at the moment.
Thank you for sharing that. Guys, I got to ask you both about that beautiful pink Jeep. That is one fabulous looking Jeep, and with such bright color pink, you can practically see it from outer space. What's it like driving that Jeep around? And if you had a car, would you want to paint it pink as well?
Driving that thing was like driving a car that didn't work. Because it basically didn't work. We had a lot of moments where both of us were just slightly scared. Definitely more Matthew than me, because of course I was enjoying driving him insane the entire trip. I myself wouldn't want a pink car, but Matthew might. I feel like you might be into it.
Oh yeah, make a choice,
Yeah, big choices over here. He's got big choices to make.
Did any of you guys ask Juan if either of you could get to keep that pink Jeep home with you after the production?
I never wanted to look at that thing ever again.
I told Wanfei I want, not only do I want it eventually, but I'm hoping that for the theatrical release over this next week, it works enough that we can drive it around the city for promotion. We'll see what happens. I would love to do that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. As I said earlier, I love road trip movies. So let me ask you both this fun question. When was the last time you went on a road trip? Where did you go? And what do you like or don't like about going on a road trip? Because, I mean, being stuck in a car with the same people for hours on end can get irritating, right?
That's a great question. I have never in my life gone on a formal road trip. It is on my bucket list. And what I really want to do is just pick a route and drive cross country from east to west. That's like one of the top things on my bucket list, actually, in like a camper van. And but I don't know, I've gone, honestly, it felt like a road trip getting up to Maine to shoot this film. We were, it was COVID, and we were all like, there was like, I don't know, the whole crew drove up to Maine. And it was like Sarah and me and Wanfei and Kamo and this like in this infinity. And we didn't know each other. Like, we were all kind of strangers in this tiny car moving up to Maine to shoot a short. And Sarah introduced us to the world of great music, and Kamo introduced me to really scary driving. Oh no, it was Wanfei introduced me to really scary driving, like very aggressive and then sudden braking. And But it was fun. It was just a bunch of strangers like in this one car going up to tell a story, and a lot of stops along the way. Like the first like hours after I met Sarah, she was like peeing behind some gas station in the middle of the night. It was a trip.
What about you, Sarah? What was your memorable road trip experience?
I think the last one I did was with my husband up to Big Sur, California, which is always really fun. I had never been before, and I'm not afraid of heights, but I don't know if you've ever driven on the Pacific Coast Highway up to Big Sur, but eventually you're just driving on a cliff and the drop is like hundreds of feet into rocks and ocean. And so I didn't expect that, and it was a little bit shocking, but at the end it's like the most beautiful place on earth, so it was all worth it to get there.
And you live to tell the story. That's beautiful.
I did. I didn't fall down the cliff. Thought I was going to, but I'm okay.
Now, Sarah, talk to me about the Winona's. Her character seems very vulnerable, and there seems to be themes of objectification about her. Talk to me about that aspect, and how did you embody Winona?
I feel like as women in general, well, people, but women sometimes in particular, we're just exposed to more criticism about specific things. Like if you're not sexual, you're a prude. If you're too sexual, you're a slut. If you're, there's a lot of labels and a lot of finger pointing for, who's right and who's wrong about specific things. And when I was researching her to try to figure out what her stance on all of that was, I took a look at some people that are considered like third wave feminists, people who think it's empowering to post pictures of themselves in vulnerable ways, like bikinis, or ways that people would point and look at you and have things to say, and you decide, well, I don't care, I'm going to show my body because I'm proud of it, and screw everybody else. So I took a little of that, and then also my natural insecurity after being a ballet dancer my whole life, and the scrutiny of body types sort of just was already in there. So I meshed together this hyper confident person and my personal experiences of being told that my body is too sexual looking for ballet, my breasts are too big, and all these things that in the real world would be considered so awesome are not considered great in that world. So yeah, I just tried to figure out how to balance the two things, because I wanted her to feel confident in who she was and what she did, but also have that balance of insecurity that I feel like most people and women go through.
Yeah, this movie is, incredibly profound. There's a lot of profound speeches here, including the one about self-respect. That was very, oddly empowering to me. And finally, this is the moment where I got to ask you about the, I know that the space aliens are some sort of metaphors in this film, but what are they exactly? Theme-wise, what do you think unidentified objects wants to convey about the space aliens, or is that ambiguous and open to interpretation?
I think Juan Fei offers a poignant take on this. A lot of the Q&As, he references that, when he moved to America, to the United States from Colombia, like his label was alien, right? That was like his legal name. He was an alien. And so I think what the film suggests is that in so many ways, we're, as a human race, obsessed with looking up to the stars to see some sign of aliens when we are literally calling our own aliens here on Earth. And so what does that say about acceptance and a willingness to see people who do not look like you, who do not come from your background? And how do we bridge the gap between cultures and societies in a way that is from love and not out of fear? And I think Winona and Peter is kind of a microcosm of what can happen, the beauty that can happen when two people or two civilizations come together with the shared human experience and wanting to feel like they belong on Earth, that they belong.
That's a tough act to follow right there. I think that it is obviously it's open to interpretation because we want everybody to find their own kind of connection to the film and meaning, with the characters. But I kind of like to think that in the beginning, Peter's character sees Winona as the alien in a way, and also she's going on this adventure, and it's really off-putting to him. And those little moments of surrealism where he's experiencing these interactions and she's not make me want to believe that maybe he's the alien, or he's being reminded that we're not all perfect, we're not all we're all aliens essentially. So he's getting like these little tings and reminders during it with his encounters. But yeah, overall, I'm hoping that the film conveys what Matthew is saying, that it's like we're all different, we all have our things, and every single person is alien because no two people are the same. So yeah, that's the hope.
All right. For my fans at home, everybody go check out Unidentified Objects, arriving June 2 in select theaters and on June 9 on VOD. Sarah and Matthew, thank you for talking to me, and congratulations.
Thank you.